Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's Member Spotlight brought to you by Brentwood Chamber of Commerce. My name's Colin Barber and I'm the Chairman of Brentwood Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to host this afternoon's webinar. And our guest this afternoon, who I'll be introducing you to very shortly, is Tony Clark from Brentwood Becket Rotary Club. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon and for this afternoon's webinar, which will last about half an hour. Just worth pointing out, if you have any friends who weren't able to join us this afternoon or any fellow members of a Rotary Club, then this webinar is being recorded and it will be available to view on the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel probably from tomorrow as soon as we get the video uploaded. Incidentally, if you've maybe not seen all of the previous member spotlights, then all the previous member spotlights are also available to view at any time on the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce YouTube web channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Brentwood Chamber of Commerce. As I say, my name's Colin Barber. I'm the Chairman of Brentwood Chamber of Commerce, which is a part-time voluntary role. I also work running a business called The Management Mechanic, which is a business training and development consultancy specialising in psychology in business. My speciality is helping you to understand how people work, which makes this afternoon's and all these webinars particularly interesting for me because I'm always fascinated in all the various organisations who are members of the Chamber of Commerce. I've got plenty of questions I'd like to ask Tony, but if you've got any questions which you would like me to put to Tony on your behalf, either during the webinar or at the end of the webinar, then do feel free to use the chat button and just send in the send a message or the question to me, and I'll put it to Tony on your behalf. So without further ado, let me introduce you to this afternoon's guest. As I say, Tony Clark, a member of Brentwood Becket Rotary Club. Are you there, Tony?
I am indeed, and hello to everybody.
Good, welcome Tony, and good to see you.
Thank you.
Now, I say you're a member of Brentwood Becket Rotary Club. I believe you've been a member for a few years. Would you like to tell us how long you've been a member and how you came to become a member?
Well, I started my Rotary in 1978 in Ilford because that's where I worked, and I was a member of that for a couple of years, and then Brentwood Becket was formed in 1980. And because I lived in the Brentwood area, it seemed more sense for me to join a local club. So, and I knew one or two of the people who were founder members. So I transferred from Ilford to Brentwood Becket and was the first Rotarian inducted in who wasn't a founder member.
Right.
So 40 years I've been in there.
Wow. Okay. Are there any other members that joined at the same time as you who are still belong? Well,
who came in as non-founder members? There were about 3 or 4, yes, and I don't think any of them are still around, I have to say. Mm. So, yeah.
So you're one of the longest, okay.
Yeah.
And before that, you belong to the round table. Can you just explain to some of us who don't know the difference between the round table and the Rotary Club, and what
yeah, well, Rotary was started as a service club in America over 100 years ago by Paul Harris, and continued for many years. And then probably, I think it was around about the 40s or 50s, an English Rotarian by the name of Louis Marchese, who was a member, I think, of the Norwich Rotary Club. And he started up a round table in Norwich there. And the difference basically is that when you're a Rotarian, you can be in it for all of your life. So if you join at 20 or join at 40 or join at 60, it matters not. And you continue till the day you die. But with round table, again, you can join, I think, from 18 upwards, but you get chucked out at 40. And the idea behind that is that they would always have young people coming through with different ideas of fundraising, of activities, and all people who are like-minded of similar ages. And so you were thrown out at 40. And it seemed a shame that all the people that have been in round table for all those years were likely to lose touch. So somebody else organised and formed a club called 41 Club, which some people may have heard of. And so all the ex-round tablers joined 41 Club. And so I'm in 41 Club now and keep in touch with all the people that I used to see in round table. So that the aims, if you like, or the aims and objects of both clubs are very similar. Service to the community, doing good deeds, raising money for charity and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, and I think it's very important, enjoying yourselves, making new friends, lots of fellowship, lots of fun, be it entertainment type of fun or sporting type of fun.
That's great. And you meet once a week. And are you still meeting during the pandemic?
Yes, well, in theory, we meet once a week. Some Rotary clubs around the country meet once a fortnight, but that's more for the newer clubs, I have to say. you know, if anybody wanted to join Rotary, it's not mandatory that you have to attend every meeting. I mean, everybody's ill, everybody goes on holiday, everybody has other commitments. So you might find yourself ending up sort of 50 or 60% of the meetings, say 2 to 3 out of the 4 or 5 a month. And at the moment, we're doing it on Zoom because that's the only way that we can do it.
How are you finding it on Zoom?
Well, I think it's quite good fun, actually. I mean, we have, let's say, for example, forgetting the months that there's a fifth Monday, there are 4 Mondays, and 3 of those Mondays will be a speaker meeting. We found it quite easy to get good speakers who sometimes talking us to from Scotland or whatever, and none of them have any travelling expenses, so it keeps our donation fee to a minimum. And the 4th one would be a business meeting where we actually discuss what the club is doing and what it plans to do.
So that's actually enabled you to increase your range of speakers then, obviously, by having speakers who are speaking to you virtually.
I think you're probably right there. Yes, we certainly had one from Scotland, and being in 41 Club as well, where we have a similar system, once a fortnight meeting or once a month meetings, and we still have speakers. We tend to sort of pinch Rotary speakers will come and speak at 41 Club and vice versa. So it works out quite well.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. So, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Tony, your background. You mentioned you were in Ilford, so you ran a retail store, I believe.
Yeah, I was born well in Clayhall. My parents moved to Chigwell when I was 3, and I lived for 26 years of my life up there. And when I got married, I moved to Brentwood. So that's the Brentwood connection. I've been there since about 1974 in this area. And it was a family business in Ilford. Started off as a small shop. It's called Owen Clark Company, and fairly well known as an art shop and stationery store. And you know, over the years, it's doubled in size. We had sort of 24 staff at one point, and good turnover. But things change. And I was there for 47 years. And when it came to retirement, Ilford had gone down the pan just a little bit. The place that the shop was in not such a good road. The parking problems were limiting the footfall, and so I decided just to close the door and call it a day, which I did.
Oh, okay, right. And how many years ago was that?
That was in 1965. I started there, and although we had the retail shop and the footfall was very good and business was excellent for a number of years, it became apparent that we had to change direction, and we became more of an educational supplier. And in the end, we were supplying schools and colleges with academic books, art materials, and technical drawing equipment.
Right. And is it true that when you retire, you've never been as busy as when you retired?
Well, yeah, this is the old cliche, isn't it? You never had the time to go to work. But yeah, I keep myself busy. I work a lot on the computer. I organise, as you'll hear in a minute, I'm one of the protagonists, if you like, who organise the half marathon. That keeps me busy. I organise quiz nights, and we've had charity golf days and all sorts of things like that, which I've taken the lead on. I also like looking into my ancestry. I've just written a potted history of the Rotary Club, which took me all through the last lockdown earlier on in the year. Hobbies, well, I love playing golf. I play a couple of times a week, which of course we're not doing at the moment. And I love watching sport. I think my wife only thinks that there's a sport channel on the television.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit more about the half marathon. Obviously, most people have heard of it, and tell us how it evolved and what made it so successful as well. It's certainly very successful, both in terms of number of people and in terms of the fundraising.
Well, when any service club has to think of fundraising ideas, lots of different ideas come up, and we've tried them all, I have to say, in our club. But the idea of a run came up fairly quickly, probably about 1982, which is why I think we're 39 years into it at the moment. And it started off as I think a fun run, perhaps a 3-mile fun run and a 10K race. And over the next few years, it developed into a fully fledged half marathon and about a 3-mile fun run. And they've run next to each other throughout those years. And of course, the longer you put any sort of function on like that, the more you learn about the ins and outs of it, how to improve. And we always wanted to improve. We always wanted to make our run a respected run and one that was looked forward to and well supported. And that has been the case over the years.
And running the fun run at the same time, has that made it more popular, do you think, made it more of it?
Well, you know, the entry fee for the half marathon is obviously in line with most half marathons around the country, and the fun run was just a £5 and would just attract the youngsters, anybody from 7 upwards, and they could come in fancy dress. We had people walking the course, we had people dressed in all sorts of outrageous outfits, and of course in the early years we had lots of personalities. We had a president who was into you know, entertainment, and we've had oodles of people down. We had Kenny Lynch and the swimmers, Duncan Goodhue and David Wilkie. We've had snooker players and cricket players and comedians and athletes. And on one year, I think we probably had 8 or 9 come along and race with us, and it was fantastic. But you know, that's not what it's all about. You know, the whole idea is to raise money for charity and not sort of promote it through the falseness, if you like, of having personalities there. But no, we all thoroughly enjoy doing it, and everybody gets involved. Yes, there's a small committee. You can't have too many cooks spoiling the broth. So there's a small amount of people that do most of the organisation, and then everybody in the Rotary Club gets involved nearer the time, especially on the day itself.
So is there a maximum number of runners you're allowed to have, or that you?
Well, we set a maximum of about 4,000 because the race starts at Becket Keys School, formerly Headley Water, down the bottom of Sawyers Hall Lane. And if anybody who knows that area, it's a cul-de-sac. And so it can get quite crowded down there. And so we've set ourselves a maximum of 4,000. And the reality is, amazingly, that we usually get about a 20% dropout because people are ill, they're injured, they just turn over in bed and don't fancy it on the morning. So we'll probably end up with anything from 2.5 to 3.5 at the end of the day. And we live to cope with that, and we deal with every sort of problem. And yes, we have had our problems over the years. We've had a few injuries, we've had 1 death, we've had a cancellation, but we just deal with it, and we just move on.
And have you changed the route over the years, or has it always been?
Yeah, the route slightly changed in the last few years. We went through Doddinghurst rather than going too far out in the, because it used to come out the Blackmore Road and come down the straight mile on the Ongar Road, and that's quite dangerous actually. And because the runners are running along, and of course they don't care, they just run all over the place, so they're not always aware of the cars coming up behind them. In more recent years, we've had proper road closures, but we decided to change the route so that it came down the Doddinghurst Road and up past the Brentwood Centre, and now we get a complete road closure of that area, so we don't have any traffic there at all. I suppose our biggest problem is the Mount Nissing roundabout, where we can't actually ever get a road closure on because it's on a major A road. And we have a great band of marshals there who know how to cope with it. They've been doing it for many years, and they know how to stop the traffic, when to let it through and when not to. And we've never had any problems there at all, thankfully. Right.
And what sort of amount of money do you raise with a half marathon?
Well, that will vary. I actually did some working out of money that we've raised when I wrote the potted history, because it was all recorded. And there are 2 ways that we raise the money. There's the money that we raise as a Rotary Club, which is taken from all the entry fees, sponsorship and donations. And over the 39 years, that comes to 1,156,000. And then there's the money that the runners raise on the back of the event, like they do in the London Marathon. So when they enter, there's a couple of boxes at the bottom of the entry form saying how much you're going to raise for your charity, and they will let us know. I know it's not totally accurate, but it gives us a good idea. And that raised 2,619,000. So we're looking at 3.75 million from the half marathon on its own over the 39 years.
That's incredible, an amazing amount of money.
So really it's an average, I suppose, of anything between 50, 60, 70, 80,000 net for us to distribute to local, national and international charities. And it's always been the idea from the club that we give as much locally as we can, but we don't want to forget other people in need as well. So we give 25% to international charities, and we've built a hospice in Kenya. We provide toilet blocks at schools in South Africa and Pakistan and places like that. We have lots of events and things going abroad. International, I mean, it's all very well, Colin, to just write a check. It's easy to write a check for £10,000 to this, that or the other, but our community service or charity committee, they spend a lot of time looking into the whys and wherefores of the charities that log onto our website and express an interest in being funded for something. And in a way, we would rather give a vehicle, a bed, or a computer, or some form of equipment that we can put our name to sometimes, rather than just writing a check, which we're never really sure what it goes to and why. But they do look into all the charities, especially the local ones, to make sure that they're definitely in need, that it's going to benefit them. And there's lots of rules and regs internally to make sure that it goes to the right people.
But all these decisions are made at your local level, are they? By your local club? They're not done through Rotary International?
No, we spend our money ourselves. That's absolutely right. Although Rotary does have its own charity. It's called the Rotary Foundation. It's one of the biggest in the world. I think it raises something like 50 million a year, and it's based in America. But then Rotary is a worldwide organization with, I don't know, 2 million members in hundreds of thousands of clubs. And America, of course, where Rotary came from, and that's where the prime head office is, if you like, of Rotary International, and that's where the Rotary Foundation charity operates from, in Evanston in America, and they do all sorts of funding for ventures all around the world. They help in war and famine relief, and of course the big thing at the moment is polio. I mean, since 1985, Rotary have taken it on board to rid the world of polio, which is just gobsmacking. Back in 1985, I think there was something like, I don't know, 500,000 cases in probably 40 or 50 endemic countries, and it's right down to a handful. You can almost count them on your fingers now, Colin. There might be 10 cases in 2 countries. Now, I'm not suggesting that Rotary has done all of that. In latter years, Bill Gates has turned around and said, okay, I'll give the Rotary Club 300 million, providing you raise 300 million as well and match it. And that's what we've done. And governments have put in as well. So, I mean, it's not only Rotary, but it was Rotary inspired right from the word go. And I think it's an absolutely marvellous venture, which has, of course, helped the world rid itself of polio.
Yeah, certainly, yeah, and also excellent publicity for the Rotary Club and the fact that it's a worldwide organisation as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So coming back to the local level, you said, I think you said you've got a charity committee that actually organise how to spend the money. Do you get a lot of applicants from local organisations wanting money from you?
Well, we've always said, I know it sounds silly, but we've always said it's easy to raise the money, but difficult to spend it. Yes, we can hold events, and we've had different events over the years. I've run quiz nights for the last 30 years, raised about nearly 70,000 doing that. And when I say a quiz night, I'm not talking about a few, 100 people. I mean, our quiz night is at the Anglo-European once a year, and we get nearly 400 people attending. We've had mail order quizzes, we've had charity golf days, and a Christmas collection, which in the last 13 years has raised nearly 35,000, where we take the sleigh around the local streets. So we don't find it too difficult. It's a bit blasé, that is. We don't find it too difficult to raise the money. When it comes to spending it, Colin, that's where it becomes more difficult. And you don't just want to give it away, like I've just said. We want to make sure that it's going to the right places. And in the first place, sometimes we're struggling to find charities to give it to. And so that's why we advertise on the web and make sure that people know that if people want some money, they can go onto our web and express an interest, and then we'll get into touch and start looking into the possibilities of donating them some money. And it doesn't matter whether it's a 50 quid here or £100 a computer there, or we've supplied things to CAB, we've equipped their office with the computers, we've given things, especially to St Francis Hospice. We're very close with SNAP, which most of you have heard of. And when they first started out back in the day, we got together with the 2 other Rotary clubs in the area, and between the 3 of us, we put in about 30,000, I think, to equip their sensory room when they first had it built up at Worley Hospital there. And then a couple of years ago, they needed an extra amount of money to build another little sensory corner in one of the rooms, and Brentwood and Becket funded that on its own. And they're very special to us, as are St Francis as well. I mean, there's about 4 of our members who've been on the board of directors of St Francis Hospice, shops mainly, although one was on the main board. And when we were doing that, we managed their 12 shops, which had an income of over £1 million then. I suspect it's probably gone up a lot now. My brother-in-law, who was a former president and member of Brentwood and Becket, died in St Francis, and his memory is respected in the form of the pond outside the back of St Francis, if anybody knows that, where there's the railings round a pond with netting and fish in there, and then rockery and weeping willows, and his name is on the plaque on the front, which is rather nice. So we're very close to a few charities, but we don't like to think that we don't support others. We do. Already, I think we've spent this year, out of the funds from the 2020 event, about 20-odd thousand to about 30 different charities. So we're keeping our eye on who's in trouble at the moment. That's the key thing. And that brings me to another subject. What we've been doing during the lockdown because, you know, we can't get out there and raise money in the same way that we've been doing before. But when we had our half marathon in, it was actually the day before Boris locked us down in the middle of March. And because of the pandemic, I suspect, together with the natural dropout, which I told you about before, we had a lot of water left over, about 6,000 or 7,000 bottles. So we wondered where we could get rid of that. And it became apparent that Basildon Hospital, albeit an NHS-run establishment, was short of water. So I rang them up and they were desperate. They desperately wanted water. So they came and picked up 6,000 bottles of water. So we gave that to the hospital. We had an online quiz, a virtual quiz, which people took part in. That raised another £1,500. And I believe mainly the Brentwood Rotary Club, I have to say, raised a lot of money for St Francis through crowdfunding. So all the Rotary Clubs around, and it's not just us. I mean, I'm here not only to advertise Brentwood and Becket, but you know, the wider thing. If anybody wants to join Rotary, you don't have to join Brentwood and Becket, or we'd love to see you, of course. But you know, if another one is more convenient, area-wise or time-wise, because the 3 Rotary Clubs in Brentwood meet at different times and on different days, and sometimes one is convenient and the other isn't. And so sometimes we get together. Brentwood and Brentwood Breakfast support us at the half marathon. They come along and help marshalling, and we obviously give them a donation so that they can give that away to charity.
So what about the Chamber of Commerce? You joined the Chamber of Commerce not so long ago. What was the thinking behind joining the Chamber of Commerce, and what benefits have you received as members? Or
well, I think one of the biggest problems that Rotary has, I think, at the moment is membership. Quite wrongly, I think, people might regard Rotary as being an old man's club. Well, first of all, Rotary started taking ladies in quite a long time ago. We started taking them in probably about 10 years ago or more, and we've got quite a number of lady members now, all of whom are fantastic. They come up with different ideas, they're very active, and their input is respected and well regarded. It's very difficult to get young people. When I say young people, I guess people in their 20s and 30s and maybe early 40s. People have got you know, business problems these days. Sometimes their job is on the line and they have to work late hours. They've got young families. They're working Monday to Friday, sometimes even at the weekend. And you know, their weekends are precious to them. They've got their family. They might have sporting interests. They might have all sorts of things that would prevent them from getting involved in a club like ours. And I think with social media, with sport, TV, all the other activities that one has to do these days over what we had when we were younger. I mean, back in the day, the banks used to pay for people to join Rotary. They would pay their subscriptions in the hope, I guess, of getting people to join their bank. Who knows? But the whole idea of Rotary is not to advance your business, although it's bound to happen on occasions. You know, the whole thing about Rotary is if people want to put something back into the community, it's a lovely way of doing it, because not only do you suddenly get to know 30 or 40 new friends and their wives, you can join in their sporting activities, their social activities. We have days out. We go up to London for theatre trips. We'll go on vocational trips to factories or places of interest. We've been to the law courts in London, or to the bell chamber where they make the big bells. We've been to the place in down sort of on the A13 where they make all the scenery for a lot of the London ballets. So we have you know, events for both the ladies and lady members, the gentlemen members, and our other halves as well. So we all get together and have a good time, and that's what it's all about. So we're doing good deeds, we hope, but we're all enjoying it while we're at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And do you have much interaction with other, I know you mentioned obviously other Brentwood clubs, but like internationally, for example, do you have much interaction with other clubs around the world?
Yeah, our international committee not only arranges, you know, our financial support to the foreign ventures which we have, we also twin with a foreign club. We've twinned with 2 clubs over the years. One was Zwijndrecht in the Netherlands, and that unfortunately came to an end. And now we twin with a club in Germany, and we're planning to go there, COVID permitting, in September, hopefully when there's a nice wine tasting in the Moselle area.
Mm-hmm. And do the Rotaries in other countries, they operate pretty much the same sort of way as in England, do they?
They do indeed. I mean, in America, you get Rotary clubs, you've got 200-300 members. And I think some places in the Asia as well, Japan is very strong with Rotary. But I don't think you could ever get to know everybody. Oh, so-and-so is going to be president next year. Oh, who's he? Never met him, never sat with him, don't even know his name, you know. So it's a little bit, I don't know, too large in a way. We've got about 37, 38 members. It works well. Everybody has an interest in different aspects of Rotary, which makes it work. Not everybody loves international. Not everybody loves money raising. Not everybody likes this, that, or the other. But as a team, we work very well together. And we would always welcome new members. And you mentioned why we got involved with the Chamber. Well, it's important that we're kept up to date with local activities. That's the first thing, I think. Secondly, I'm sure that there must be some members of the Chamber who possibly themselves or people within the organisations that they work with or members of their family who might be interested in coming along and joining Rotary. It's just another avenue for us to try and find people. And of course, we've had two people. Sarge came and joined us, and also Emma Good has just recently joined us as well, which is lovely to see.
Great. Okay, so it's obviously working your membership of the Chamber. So we're nearly running out of time, but I think my final question to you would be, you talked about the history of the Rotary Club. You talked about the fact that it's a worldwide organisation. I guess what I'd really like to know is if you could sum up, what do you think is the secret of the success of the Rotary Club as an organisation, not in Brentwood, but generally worldwide? What is it that's kept it going, and if anything, caused it to be so popular around the world?
Well, that is a leading question. I think it's the like-mindedness of everybody involved. Most of it used to be, and I have to say we're going back 40 years now, it used to be that you could only have one person from a particular vocation join. So you could only have one solicitor, one shopkeeper, one accountant, etc. But it soon became apparent that it wasn't going to work then, because the membership of clubs was so much larger then. You know, I belonged to Ilford Club to start with, and that had 80 members, and you were bound to get one or two people who overlap. So we used to fiddle it a bit with their job title to make sure that we could get two people in the same profession into the club. And but all Rotarians have the same thing in mind. They want to get to know people, have fun whilst they're doing it, doing good for the community, raising money for charity, and having a bloody good time, excuse the French, Colin, while they're doing it.
Great, excellent. Well, that sounds very good. Certainly a good introduction to the Rotary, and I've certainly learned a little bit myself about it this evening. So I'd like to thank you for joining us, Tony. Just before we do finish, I just want to share with our viewers some details of our next presentation, or our next webinar, which is on in February. Date is to be confirmed, but I'll just share the details with you now so you know who's coming up. And just bringing up the screen now. Yeah, Tori Pollard from RCH Care Homes will be joining us in February. RCH Care Homes run care homes in various places around the country and around Essex, but they do have one in Brentwood, and she'll be joining us to tell us a little bit more about RCH Care Homes and their background and history. So do join us for that. As I say, if you're interested in some of the previous Member Spotlight webinars, then do go to our YouTube channel, where you'll find details and links to all the previous webinars. And today's recording, if you didn't join us right at the beginning, then it will be up on YouTube probably tomorrow. Or if indeed you've got any friends who want to watch it, then do share the link with them. We will send out an email automatically to all of those of you who attended today, sharing the link to the YouTube recording.
Can I just say a couple more things? Would you mind, Colin?
No, not at all, no.
Firstly, if anybody is interested in Rotary, they can either through you get in touch with me or go onto the Rotary website, which is simply www.brentwoodabecketrotary.org. And the other thing is, if you go onto YouTube and punch in Brentwood Half Marathon, you can see the last video set to music of the events. And if you haven't seen it, it's well worth watching, give you an idea of what the half marathon's about. Great. I noticed there are 3 questions there. Have you got time to deal with them?
Yeah, well, actually, two of them aren't so much questions, they're more just people saying, messaging. But one question was, how much does it cost to join the Rotary?
Well, the Rotary subscription is £120 a year, but you can belong as an associate member, which is a vastly reduced subscription, which I think is about 30 or 40. And we're also interested in starting up things like business membership and things like that, where a company would join, and it makes it possible that certain people within that organisation can come along and join meetings, even though they're not individual members, if you see what I mean. But further information about that can be given to anybody who's interested.
Yeah, that certainly sounds like a great idea. Okay, so yeah, obviously, if you are interested in finding out about the Rotary Club, then as always, I'm sure the first port of call will be the website, and I'm sure Tony and his team will be happy to hear from you.
But you've got my email, so if any of the other questions which have gone unanswered want to be forwarded to me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, great. Okay, so feel free to contact us, and we'll pass them on to Tony. So thanks very much for joining us this evening, Tony, and
thank you very much for the opportunity.
And wish you all the best of luck, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
I hope it's been informative to people.
Yes,
Thank
definitely.
you very much.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thanks, Tony. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.